Hello and welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be showing you how I make my matcha bowls, from throwing to trimming, glazing. But first I want to talk to you guys about this apron that I'm putting on here. This is an apron made by a local Winnipeg company. Had the pleasure of prototype testing and showing you guys this final design here. This is not a paid ad, but I'm just really excited about this product and I wanted to show you guys a little bit behind the scenes of another local company. So here we got Nate and Brendan. They are Wilder Goods. They do everything from design their products to hand make their templates, and cutting, sewing, everything in between. It's a pretty awesome operation these guys got going on, and the coolest part about their showroom is that it's also their making space, so you get to see behind the scenes just like I'm showing you here today. If you're interested in some of their products, check them out at wilderwinnipeg.com. And now back to making the matcha bowl. So starting off with 600 grams, we're going to center this lump of clay. I found this to be pretty useful when teaching people. We're going to imagine our one hand as the wall, so we're just focusing on the palm and the lower fingers, and on the other hand you're going to use again your lower fingers and just use those fingertips to press in. When you encounter a lump like this on top, don't keep pulling up and coning because you'll get some air bubbles most likely. Instead, make a fist, press down into that cone, down and at an angle, and you'll get rid of the inconsistencies on top. After coning up and down a few times, we're going to open and compress the bottoms. And as you can see from the little graphic on the right, we're going to make some ridges. And I like making the ridges because it adds a nice design, and I think it gives more texture for the whisk to move around and create a better froth. On our first pull here, we're really just pushing the outer edge of the clay up, and then on our second and third pull, we can squeeze, pushing in from the out, but holding steady from the inside. We don't want to close the form, we just want to create a cylinder. So keep drawing that straight line up with your inside finger while you press in with the outside hand. After we've pulled it up to a generous height, we're just going to round out this belly and then taper in for the rest of the form, using a sponge to clean up those ridges in the inside. And then that is all for throwing our piece. After we clean up the plaster bat here, I'm going to grab a rib and scrape off some slip so it has a nice consistent drying pace. Now with 2 fingers on the outside and 1 finger in the middle, make sure you wet your finger and then slowly walk it back and forth, pressing it down, not too quickly because you can still crack it while it's wet. Once we're done and you're happy with your lip, I try and get it to be as horizontal as possible. And then with a gentle touch, we'll clean up the lip, clean up the rim, and the shape of the rim. And then it is off to the shelf for drying. Once we have let it dry overnight, we'll come back to trim it. Starting off by wetting the wheel, we can tap center, and if you have troubles tap centering, I like to use this visual of focusing on a very narrow line of the pot, just this outside rim here, and it makes it easier to tap center and get in a rhythm. After we've got it centered, we can remove some mass using the trimming spinner to hold it down. Once that is all done, and we've made a nice extruded little foot here, make a little bevel on the edge of the foot and then clean up the inside. After stamping, then we are thrown and trimmed, and that is our finished piece. Once it's back from the kiln for the first firing, the bisque firing, Then we can wax the foot of the bowls and begin the glazing process. I like to use a hydrometer and keep notes on what my glaze readings are. This blue that I'm dipping in here looks more like denim at a hydrometer reading of 1.47, but at 1.52 it's a very deep blue and there's a bit of movement, so it's a small enough difference that I like to keep a log of it. Once glazed, dried, and cleaned up, it's off to the kiln, and then once it's back here all glazed, our last step is to sand the bottom. So I use a diamond core sanding pad at a 120 grit and 400 grit, and I find that gives a nice finish. Once that's done, dry it off and your matcha bowl is good to go. Thank you guys for watching the process here. I hope you enjoy. If you're interested in purchasing a matcha bowl, I'll be doing a website restock on July 15th. Thank you again. Bye-bye.